Unless you've been living under a rock, everybody by now has heard about the Ravens, unprecedented preseason win streak ad nauseum. They've won 24 straight games, dating back to 2016. John Harbaugh has been about as close to automatic as you could ask for in the preseason. 42 and 17 straight up, 78% winning. Almost as good against the spread, which is what matters in our game. 39 and 16, 71%. And, they've been criticized. What a meaningless stat. I agree. No one gives a shit about your preseason record, as the Redskins have made well known this week in their press conferences leading up to this game. That being said, it's a very meaningful stat when you're betting on these games like we are. That being said, this Ravens preseason money wagon, I think, has sailed. Every streak comes to an end. They're actually now on a 0-2 against the spread run. Failed to cover week 3 last year. And then, much to the chagrin of anyone holding a Ravens -3 ticket last week, late pick 6, they end up only winning by 2. Win the game, extend the streak, but they don't cover the nut. Now, the guy who's been instrumental, outside of Harbaugh, to their recent ATS success has actually been backup Tyler Huntley, who has been one of the best preseason quarterbacks in recent history. The only one who I can think was better was Pat White, the dual threat back for the Dolphins. That had to be close to a decade ago. Last week the Ravens were down at half, and Huntley started the second half and led them on the opening second half drive touchdown, which set the tone. Same thing last year. In their week 3 game, he led them back as well. Late game comeback. He's not playing this week. Harbaugh, he has gotten flack over the years for playing starters too much in the preseason, because as anyone who's paid attention knows, they've been an injury-ravaged team these past few years. It's cost them, really a chance at the Super Bowl. And he's taken it actually easy, playing starters dating back to last season. So right away, that edge has been mitigated some. It was enough last week against the Eagles, who, under Nick Sirianni, have been one of the most putrid preseason teams, to barely get it done. But I think there's absolutely a Ravens tax here. As far as the bet tonight is concerned, I bet Washington at +3.5. For 2 units at the open. Now, no one likes someone who's sharing picks past post. I fully understand that. And, if you're following best practice, you really can't take them at +1.5 and take the worst of the number, because, if you do that long term, that's extremely negative EV. What I like tonight, though, for my pick, I bet them both ways. So I bet them +3.5, at open, essentially mission accomplished there. Got the CLV. Not that it means much. I had the Jets at pick, closed 3.5, and they lost outright. In preseason, CLV really doesn't matter as much as regular season, where it matters tremendously, because preseason is very much an information-based business. So as you gather more information, the line moves. So my pick for this game, for YouTube, for you guys watching, is the Commanders on the first half on the money line. Now, this line, it's roughly, I guess, market consensus, Redskins, Commanders. I'm going to call them Redskins for the rest of the time, so don't judge me. The consensus line there is like +2. The first half, though, is Commanders -0.5. I actually bet it this morning at +102 on Bookmaker. That has since moved to about -135. It's -125 on the money line on DraftKings. I think the -0.5 is fine as well, but the last thing you want is for there to be a push and for you to lose by half a point. So I would recommend just laying a little bit of extra juice, taking the first half money line, and here's why. The biggest advantage in this game, as prefaced, the Ravens didn't play starters last week, and they're going to play even less of them this week. Harbaugh's come out and said that the 37-year-old Josh Johnson is going to be starting. Despite his stat line, which looked decent, I thought he looked pretty old and decrepit last week. Not exactly a guy who I trust with my money. On the flip side, there's a very high likelihood, Rivera hasn't come out and said it, but I would be shocked if Sam Howell and the rest of the starters don't play at least 1 or 2 series. We saw it last year in week 2 against the Chiefs. Then starting quarterback Carson Wentz played the first quarter along with the rest of the receivers and tight ends. I expect to see more of the same tonight. Even if he's a late scratch, which I don't see happening, I still like Jacoby Brissett, to do enough in the first half to get them the lead. But these guys, both these teams played in joint practice, and all of the beat writers said, Howell looked really impressive against the Ravens starters. The Washington receivers were repeatedly beating the Raven starting DBs. That's not going to be the case tonight. It's very high likelihood that it's going to be, at least for the first few series, which we really care about when it comes to a first half bet, is going to be, the Washington starters against the Raven backups. So, it doesn't take a genius to realize that if they were doing well against the starters, that they should do even better against the backups. So bottom line, I think that Howell starts them off hot. I think they probably score on one of their first two possessions, at least three, probably a touchdown. And I think if they get a touchdown, at worst, this is going to be a push heading into halftime. I just think that the Ravens, we saw it last week, even with the Eagles. And, like I said, like Nick Sirianni, I think he's 1-6 now in the preseason. Dude gives it two shits about the preseason. Last week, they were going for it repeatedly on fourth down. Even within their own 35-yard line, they went for it. They were putting in a concerted effort to end the streak. I think, teams sort of take it as a challenge. I mean, by this point, it's no longer a secret. It's no longer an under the radar angle. Everyone knows the Ravens are this preseason juggernaut. As much as it pains me to say it, because like that was such a awesome angle for so long. And in the beginning, it was under the radar. But that ship has sailed, like I said. It's time to fade it. My bets for tonight, I have Washington plus 3.5. I came back on them for a little bit, even on plus 1.5. I do think they win this game outright. And then, I really like, for anyone who didn't grab that 3.5, that first half money line, I think they go into the locker room with the lead. This game, Skins, Washington plus 3.5 was my favorite pick of the preseason, my biggest bet of the preseason. But I'm not saying that I love the first half quite as much, but I like it a lot. Especially if you can catch that Howell is starting, which I would say is 90% likelihood. Then I would even be more than happy laying the 0.5. At standard juice, and fully expect the Commanders to come out, take a lead in half, and ultimately win this game and end the Raven streak. Good luck, guys. Let's go Skins. Let's go Commandos.